This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you want to get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
This football season, Bell Bank is giving one KFAN listener each week $1,000 to pay it forward to a charity of their choice. Did this last year. It's an awesome deal. Just head over to KFAN.com, keyword contest to learn more and enter today. KFAN.com, keyword contests.
Well, like the Swallows returning to Capistrano, Cam Akers is back. Third consecutive year. He is an in-season addition for your Minnesota Vikings. I guess it's not particularly surprising because you got Jonesy now battling a hammy. You got Ty Chandler on IR. So we've got Cam Akers back to give us a little bit of insurance and a little bit of depth as well. Seifert with a lot more Viking stuff coming up sometime in the 5 o'clock hour of today's broadcast. And as I mentioned, Paul Blume is going to join us next segment to get to some A-section stuff locally that is rather disturbing. And we'll keep the text going on the legacy of one of the great movie stars of the last several generations, obviously, Robert Redford, passing away at the age of 89 years old. A-section, a little more now. We have the full indictment offered up. I'm looking at it via the New York Times in the charges against Tyler Robinson, the accused Charlie Kirk assassin. I want to read you a series of messages, a conversation, I guess, going back and forth between the accused killer and the roommate, because I think it's pretty straightforward, but I think it's worthy of our discussion. When we talked about from the day this tragedy, this murder, this assassination took place, it quickly devolved into whose fault it is, who's responsible, what do we know about the individual, what was the real reason that he thinks he did what he did, whatever the case may be. And we've tried to say, let's let the thing play out for a minute and see where it goes. Well, the minutes are piling up, and now with those minutes comes the opportunity to gather more information. This is an exchange between Robinson and his roommate, starting with Robinson. I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I got to grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you. Roommate, you weren't the one who did it, right? Robinson, I am. I'm sorry. Roommate, I thought they caught the person. Robinson, no, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got knocked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Roommate, why? Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. Roommate, how long have you been planning this? Robinson, a bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. Robinson again, I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. I don't know if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Did not have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the bleep will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The bleeping messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge UWU on Fox News, I might have a stroke. All right, I'm going to have to leave it. But this really bleeping sucks. I don't know about you, but from that passage and several other things, but that passage in particular, this is, I think we now have a lot more information that this was an individual who very calmly intended to do exactly what he did, commit a political murder, a targeted murder, and then was going to try to get away with it. That there may be a million things that was going through his head, and there's background in him, and who's responsible for radicalizing him, the whole bit, all those sorts of things, and that stuff gets overblown. But this looks pretty succinct, does it not? And pretty direct, that we have fairly certain confirmation that this was a guy very sure of what he was doing and why he was doing it. And this and that very much is defined to me as a political assassination.
To your point, I don't know if you read this part of it, but part of the reporting has said that the text messages directed the roommate with whom he was in a romantic relationship.
Yes.
Wall Street Journal and New York Times are saying that said there's a note under the keyboard, basically, and the note said, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's chilling as it gets.
It is. It's as chilling and as sickening and revolting as it gets. And I think that we're getting closer to where we don't have to guess quite as much. And we've talked about in the past that sometimes these individuals are confused, their motives might be rather complicated, etc. This, at this point, looks fairly straightforward, that it is what it appears to be at this particular point, which is pathetic to think about. Do you remember Jamel Hill?
Yeah.
By the way, she's now, I think, at the Atlantic. She apparently, by the way, this falls under the classification of, why don't you follow the story and give it a chance to breathe a little bit, Jamel? Mm-hmm. She has apparently deleted a Bluesky post in which she had suggested that Kirk's assassination had been carried out by a white supremacist gang. And at the time, she was citing a disinformation expert named Joan Donovan. Here's the original Bluesky comment from Jamel at the time. This is from a couple days ago. The LA Times spoke with an expert, imagine that, about the markings on the killer's bullet casings, and turns out Charlie Kirk likely was the victim of a white supremacist gang hit. Well. See, that's an individual who wants to believe what she wants to believe.
Correct.
She's going to fit the narrative, the details to what her thought process is. So it doesn't even matter what the details are. If she can find someone who will take her down this particular path, this particular path of delusion, she's going to go with it because it confirms what in general she wants to believe. And that's part of why we end up in the trouble that we do, is that we have so many people so determined to make the facts fit what they want to believe rather than what the facts might actually, as they evolve, reveal about a given situation. Let's come back and check in with local A-section guy, Paul Blume, Fox 9 intrepid reporter, covering very hard stories from overnight, involving two different mass shootings in Minneapolis. He'll give us details when we come.
Hey, it's Brian Christopher. Ready to chill this summer? You're in luck. I'm hanging out at Chumba Casino, and you're in for a treat. Chillax with hundreds of games, daily bonuses, exciting spins, and epic prizes. It's all here, always free to play. Kick back, have fun, and head to ChumbaCasino.com. Let's make this summer legendary.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21 plus.
Would you guys consider anything less than a championship to be a failure from this year?
I wouldn't say anything is a failure, especially because we all grow every day. Obviously, the goal is a championship. There's no doubt in that, and that's the goal. We want to win a championship.
I'm Christina Williams, host of the podcast, In Case You Missed It with Christina Williams. The WNBA playoffs are here, and I've got the inside scoop on everything from key matchups and standout players to the behind-the-scenes moments you won't find anywhere else.
It's really, really hard to be the champions, but we have to remember how it feels and embrace the new challenge that we have.
For all the biggest stories in women's basketball, plus exclusive interviews with the game's brightest stars.
So to be here, I think it's one that we definitely don't take for granted. But we also know, that's just one stop along the way, and we're hoping to, make a run.
So listen to In Case You Missed It with Christina Williams, an iHeart Women's sports production in partnership with Deep Blue Sports and Entertainment on iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Ben.
Paul Blume is back with us he of course is the intrepid Fox 9 reporter who's had a very busy day covering at least one, maybe a couple of stories involving mass shootings that I guess Paul Blume, this is where it gets kind of strange to me, which ones we decide to turn into significant ongoing stories and which we just kind of yawn and say, oh, okay, here's another kind of mass shooting that we're not as concerned with. But give us, first of all, before we get into all of that, the details on the two stories that took place overnight that you are covering for Fox 9.
Right. So I am at the scene of one of those mass shootings. In 24 hours, the city of Minneapolis, South Minneapolis, East Lake Street, within a couple miles of one another, had two mass shooting events. Fortunately, at this point, no one has died from their injuries, but certainly there are grave injuries. The scene I'm focused on is a homeless encampment that had been allowed to exist basically on a abandoned parking lot. And now in Minneapolis, encampments are illegal. The city typically clears them. But what made this situation unique is it's a private property situation. There's a defiant property owner, a developer, Hamoudi Sabri, who thinks it's a more humane way to handle the homeless is by giving them a place to congregate together, to stay together, to live together communally. In theory, there are rules around the site, but last night there was a mass shooting. The police chief saying today appeared to be over drugs, and bullets were flying, and police found two people in tents with bullet wounds to their heads. Right now, they are alive. We don't know if they'll survive. But they have multiple people facing grave injuries, and no surprise here, but the city, as soon as morning came, they immediately moved to clear out the encampment, basically the mayor taunting the property owner that we will see you in court. They don't have authorization at this point, but right now they're declaring the whole property a crime scene, so no one can be on there, and then they plan to go to court tomorrow to get an official restraining order so that the homeless cannot gather there going forward.
Do we have any, or do the authorities have any leads on who was doing the actual shooting?
They have no suspects in custody. There's some leads. They're tracking down leads in both shootings. It's stunning that, mass shooting. One was broad daylight yesterday at 35W, Lake Street near a busy transit hub, and then last night, obviously in the dark at this encampment. They have some leads, but neither shooting do they have anybody in custody. But the bigger issue, Dan, that's really kind of developing today is sort of that homeless encampment. Yes. The city just wrapped up a significant news conference where they explain why they're doing it. They think these encampments are rife with drug use, drug dealing. It's unsafe conditions that have been declared a public health nuisance. I know you guys have talked about it. They fined the owner upwards of $20,000 for creating this public health nuisance. And the mayor saying today, we knew it would end tragically. It was just a matter, was there going to be a propane fire? Was there going to be a murder? Was there going to be something was going to end in disaster? And last night, with the bullets flying, it did. So the quote I thought I saw, I can't find it right now, from the mayor is, because Sabri is the Minneapolis landlord who's been battling on this. I think he's got $15,000 in citations that he has ignored, and he's basically said, take me to court.
And I thought a quote I saw from the mayor was basically, "We're doing this. If he wants to sue us, go right ahead." That the city has decided to become a lot more frontal after what took place last night.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. They had filed suit last week. They had to go to the city council to get authorization to move forward with sort of formal court proceedings. I thought it was an interesting wrinkle, even though, the detectives are long gone from the scene here. I'm actually sitting right outside the encampment. I do want to point out, had upwards of 75 people living here at one point, drug paraphernalia all over the place. There were no toilets, so human feces were on the ground. I'm right next to a charter school that dismissed in the last hour. So it's sort of this stunning view of, protecting these little kids as they come off come out of the school and go off on their bus. But, I mean, they had begun litigation, but what the city is doing is they have formally declared this site now as a crime scene. So it's protected by police. It's protected by crime scene tape. Sabri has said as soon as the city's gone, people can come back, which was a stunning response, but he is defiant, and that's his position. But because it's a crime scene, of course, police will lock this down overnight, and then tomorrow afternoon, City Hall has a court hearing with Sabri where they hope a judge will sign off on an order that permanently, or at least a TRO, a temporary restraining order, that will not allow the property owner to have people camping back on his abandoned lot.
I want to ask you about part of Sabri's statement that he released, I think, earlier today. Here's his direct quote. "Uptown has been abandoned. For years, Phillips and Lake Street have endured shootings, displacement, and trauma without the sustained care or urgency shown to other parts of the city. Instead of emergency response, the pattern has been abandonment and repeated displacement that leaves people more vulnerable to violence." He calls that area a place avoided by many and blatantly ignored by leadership. I don't know when that statement was released, but has anybody asked the mayor about that particular pretty serious allegation from Sabri?
Yeah, I mean, Sabri launches bombs at the mayor. He holds the mayor accountable for what's going on in the city, for the treatment of the homeless. He believes that if you kind of disperse the homeless with them, the people who, gravitate towards, whether it's a drug scene, that they will go elsewhere, crimes will occur elsewhere. He kind of feels like by putting the situation in one place, you can better deal with it, better get these people, many with mental health issues, the services they need in one location. The mayor, he was asked about the response at the news conference today. He basically thinks the city is doing it the right way, that the encampment strategy is a failing one, is a dangerous one, is an unhealthy one, is an unsafe one. And, but no, it is personal for Sabri. He definitely, when I talk to him, he definitely holds the mayor accountable for, basically the last, 5 years post George Floyd, developments in the city from, the fallout, the aftermath, the rioting, all the way through, what is a homeless issue in the city. But of course, every urban center in America is dealing with this issue right now.
To varying degrees, 100% right. Sabri, does anybody ever ask Sabri what he thinks about, I think, really a lot of studies that have come out over a period of time suggesting that even if you have some of the concerns he does, that these encampments ultimately rarely end up serving the healthy interests of the individuals involved. And this gets back to finding places for them. Then, of course, there's always the question of sometimes will they leave those places as soon as they have the opportunity to do it. But does anybody try to go down that road with Sabri to say, it sounds good what you're saying, it sounds compassionate, but there's a lot of evidence to suggest there's really nothing compassionate about most of these encampments ultimately?
Yeah, I mean, he takes all comers in terms of the questions. I mean, he doesn't shy away from a verbal sparring match. And in fact, he was on Fox 9 and on one of our, streaming shows. Yeah. I'm sure if you wanted to get him on your show, he probably would come on. He says he's a man of the streets, a Palestinian immigrant to this country who made it, big with, several dozen properties in Minneapolis. And he's just passionate about this, Dan. I don't know how else to explain it. I don't don't come up necessarily with the exact, data points when I question him, but he believes that the people he's serving are mentally ill. He brings them together in one place. He kind of, gave one person the authority of sort of managing the homeless encampment that was on his property just off East Lake Street. But the city will say it's not necessarily just, a homeless person that may come here and just need a tent. That it's just a magnet for other poor behavior, the drugs, the prostitution, the human trafficking. And I don't think he has a good answer when it comes to sort of the fallout from that. But he's, like I said, he's defined today, and depending on what the court says tomorrow, he has said that he will allow people right back here as soon as the city clears out.
The flurry of rounds that apparently were fired into a group near the Midtown Greenway and Lake Street Transit Station. That's the other mass shooting. 5, I think, individuals were believed wounded in that case. That's in South Minneapolis. I assume there's no belief that there's a connection between these two mass shootings, but do we know anything at all about what was, other than the fact that I guess this particular area between the Midtown Greenway and I-35W ramp has been plagued with all kinds of violence and drug use over a long period of time. I think I saw a quote from the police chief to that effect.
Yeah, I mean, another area, I don't necessarily want to call it an encampment, but there's certainly areas that the city immediately moved to fence off over there. That is a gathering spot that was described as basically an open-air drug market. It's funny, I've heard, nothing funny about it, but I've heard several places in the city that are, quote, open-air drug markets. And I do wonder why police don't put an end to that before something like this. Clearly it's complicated, and Chief O'Hara will tell you that the police are doing everything they can proactively to combat any issues. But unclear if police have a total picture of why there was gunfire in that specific area yesterday. It was just described as an altercation between a couple of people that clearly escalated. Again, bullets go flying. Several people injured, and again, another person there shot in the head, where we could have another death. But these mass shootings, these 2 in 24 hours, and, the chief was asked today about coming off of the Annunciation church school shooting. This department in this city has been through a lot. It is a stunning amount of gun violence. Yes. And you mentioned sometimes you do, certain stories and incidents get more coverage. You think about the shooting in Utah with Charlie Kirk versus the, Colorado high school shooting that happened that same day. True. Which got all the attention in this country. And, but I think it's important to underline the amount of gun violence in this city just in the last couple of weeks.
I appreciate the time and the help. We'll be watching on Fox 9 tonight. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Dan.
Paul Blume, Fox 9 intrepid reporter. We've got some text to address here when we come back. We got some more Redford to get to. We also have a bit more of breaking Vikings injury news. Don't go away.
Time now for the Vikings Report on The Fan, presented by Miller Lite. Vikings wide receiver Adam Thielen joins Dan Barrero next.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Would you guys consider anything less than a championship to be a failure from this year?
I wouldn't say anything is a failure, especially because we all grow every day. Obviously, the goal is a championship. There's no doubt in that, and that's the goal. We want to win a championship.
I'm Christina Williams, host of the podcast, In Case You Missed It with Christina Williams. The WNBA playoffs are here, and I've got the inside scoop on everything from key matchups and standout players to the behind-the-scenes moments you won't find anywhere else.
It's really, really hard to be the champions, but we have to remember how it feels and embrace the new challenge that we have.
For all the biggest stories in women's basketball, plus exclusive interviews with the game's brightest stars.
So to be here, I think it's one that we definitely don't take for granted. But we also know, that's just one stop along the way, and we're hoping to, make a run.
So listen to In Case You Missed It with Christina Williams, an iHeart Women's Sports production in partnership with Deep Blue Sports and Entertainment on iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Gear up for a hilarious night when Dane Cook returns to the Island Events Center. You can see his legendary style of stand-up comedy live at Treasure Island Friday, October 24th. All the details are available now at TICasino.com.
Update on Kevin Seifert. He's going to join us in studio beginning at about 5:15. So right after the top five at 5 today, Seifert, his regular Tuesday appearance on the broadcast. We've got much more Robert Redford stuff to get to. This whole show, to a degree, owed to a dead guy at varying times during the course of the program. I mentioned breaking Minnesota Vikings injury news. Man, it doesn't ever seem to stop. And this isn't particularly surprising, but now official, so worth noting that Aaron Jones has been placed on injured reserve. So he's out now a minimum of 4 weeks. We knew he had a hammy, but we didn't know necessarily that it was going to be significant enough for him to have to miss that much time. So he's out a minimum of 4 weeks. We've added Cam Akers. So on the depth chart, I'm assuming the way it looks now, and we'll get into all this, as I said, with Seifert, Jordan Mason becomes your starter. Has to be. Xavier Scott becomes your backup, and Cam Akers is your third running back, correct?
I think that's right.
That's the way it's got to be at this point. Now, maybe we can add another. I'm sure we're sniffing around. There may be some other runners we might want to add. But again, and look, I like Jordan Mason. I applauded the move from the first day. We applauded it on this show. But I like him a lot better when he's one of two. Now he went through a stretch with the Niners where he was the guy. And I'm not saying he's not capable of being the guy, but I like it a lot better when he's one of two and you got two different looks. And you're not asking him to take the whole load, and you're asking him to take some of the burden off of I guess you say Aaron Jones is still the regular, still the starter for this team. So none of that is particularly good news for, I think, your Minnesota Vikings. Carson Wentz, we all know, will be the starting quarterback on Sunday, and I'm assuming it's going to be Browning that he's up against, right? The former Viking,
yes,
correct?
Yes, and apparently Brett Rippon is also with the Bengals, is what I saw today.
A little shaky. He's got our playbook.
He knows KOC well, doesn't he?
Is that part of a master plan, too?
Probably.
Wouldn't surprise you.
It usually is.
Speaking of conspiracies, I got to tell you, last night was one of those nights where you learn once again the degree to which we are too much prisoners of what the consensus is. Because I'm watching the second of the two National Football League games last night. Both games could have been heard on the fan, by the way.
Yep, Chargers-Raiders.
And suddenly I'm half watching. I've got the TV on, but I'm not watching it hardcore. And I hear the announcers say something like, and if you look in the press box, the coaches section for the Raiders,
yes,
there's Tom Brady with a headset. And I'm going, what? Wait a minute. Whoa. So I stopped whatever I was doing, went over to the TV, and there's a very serious-looking Brady, top row, not in the main row where the coordinators are calling plays and formations, but he's in the top row, looking about as serious and seriously committed to the whole bit as anybody would imagine Tom Brady would be.
Yep.
Like he's listening to everything that's going on here. And I have to admit to you, my first thought is, that's the Raiders coaches area. How is that right? How is that okay? How is that being finessed? But I'm going, well, maybe I'm the problem because it doesn't seem like very many people are making much of a big deal of it. Well, little did I know, it's now becoming more of a big deal because of the visual. I really think the visual of him where he was has people going, oh, wait a minute. Now, we know this got grandfathered in by the NFL, minority owner of Vegas, #1 Fox analyst guy, and he's now in the press box during a game, list privy to all the, I assume, communication that's going on between the sidelines and the press box. It's a bad look for the National Football League. And somebody, it might have been Courtney Cronin, pointed out, I believe, here, just as an example of how bad this looks. Even if it's just the appearance, even if this doesn't mean he's taking advantage of his opportunities. I think the doubleheader game on Fox, the game he's doing is Bears hosting Dallas this week. And I believe the Bears play the Raiders the next week.
Correct.
So you don't have to be Abner Doubleday or Amos Alonzo Stagg to put two and two together and say, well, wait a minute now. He's in the press box listening to all this stuff like he's part of the intel. He's part of the organization. Now he can scout in real time while he's on the broadcast the Bears, the team that his team plays next, if I have that scheduling right. I thought that's what Cronin said. Maybe it was later in the season.
It's something like that.
It's something like that. And again, whether let's be honest, I don't even think that we would be having this conversation about the way he was grandfathered in if he was anybody but Tom Brady. And you can say, but that's the point, stupid. He is Tom Brady. There's Jordan rules in basketball. There's Brady rules in football. And I would say this is, for me, a bridge much too far. I don't, as much as I like listening to Brady and I like to see where this goes, and he's a big name still, and it's cool to have him associated with this thing, I say you got to make a decision, man. If you want to be that involved with what the Raiders do, go do your job with the Raiders as a minority owner and fashion some other role for you in a front office capacity. But you're not going to do it on our time as well when allegedly you're trying to be and are going to be objective about every team you're talking about. I think it's a terrible look.
I can't believe that the Raiders want it either. Is there anything more distracting than, imagine Chad Abbott just over your shoulder the entire show, or Greg Swedberg. Just standing over your shoulder and questioning everything that you're doing, or at least you think he might be questioning everything you're doing. Like when, I don't even know who the Raiders offensive coordinator is. It's probably Lane Kiffin, because he's a Pete Carroll guy. I don't know. Right. Or Steve Sarkisian. You're calling triple ZY banana, and you just hear Brady go, huh? Like, oh, we're doing that? Like, I wouldn't like it if I'm the Raiders to just have one of the bosses, just maybe the greatest quarterback of all time who understands all this stuff. Shoulder. But in terms of the conflict of interest part of it, yes, of course, it's ridiculous that he can do this. And honestly, if I'm Fox, I wouldn't want him doing it either. Because
it's a bad look for Fox too.
It's the value, and I know that we've talked ad nauseum about the production meetings and is he allowed in, is he not? Do do the whole. Now we talked to defensive coordinator Dan Barrero during the week, and they really like what so-and-so's doing. Like, I don't know if there's great value in all those, but they happen all the time. And is he allowed to do that? Is he not allowed to do that? That was a big part of it. Like, if I'm Fox, I'm thinking, we need you to be a part of the stuff that our broadcast crew does, even though you are Tom Brady. And if you're doing this stuff, guys are going to be uncomfortable with it.
Maybe it's like I said, it was the visual. That's what made this so powerful to people. Even though you could say, well, wouldn't it be enough if we just knew he was in there and we didn't see him? No, I actually think it changes everything when you have that TV shot with this serious looking Tom Brady, like he's Raider guy is what he is. Then go be Raider guy. Because I do believe enough in at least the concept of objectivity when you're an analyst to say, hey, I got no affiliations, man. I'm just call him how I see him.
Yeah.
And Brady might say, hey, I can rise above all that. I have enough faith in myself. And that's great. And maybe that's true, but it's a bad look. So I'll be curious to see if the league is under enough pressure to take a second look at it. Or maybe they say, well, we are what we are. We're in charge. No one's going to do anything to us. And we're fine with it because it stinks. It's an embarrassing look for a league that doesn't need to do it. And contractually, I don't know what you do about it at this point, right? Because it's not like the NFL, I don't think, can say, well, Fox, you are required to replace him. But I do think it shows what a bad job they did on the front end, paying attention to this and really understanding the parameters of how powerful that picture was going to be if inevitably we got to that place. Now, maybe they thought, well, he's never going to do anything that stupid. He's never going to do anything that obvious, where then people are going to be able to look during a game and see Tom Brady, Raiders guy, who, by the way, on Sunday is going to be objective about the Raiders' next opponent, the Bears, against the Dallas Cowboys.
Did you see the NFL statement about this today?
No.
From about noon Central Time. I'm just reading the ESPN story here. Tom Brady did not violate any NFL rules by wearing a headset in the Las Vegas Raiders coaching booth during Monday night's game. The NFL said Tuesday in a statement that Brady is prohibited from going to a team facility for practices or production meetings, which I think is kind of what we talked about. But the former star quarterback is allowed to sit in the coach's booth, according to the league. Your guy, Brian McCarthy. There are no policies that prohibit an owner from sitting in the coach's booth or wearing a headset during a game. Brady was sitting in the booth in his capacity as a limited partner. All personnel sitting in the booth must abide by policies that prohibit the use of electronic devices other than league-issued equipment such as a Microsoft Surface tablet for the sideline viewing system.
Gee, I have absolutely no idea why we wouldn't completely trust Tom Brady on being above board. I have no idea. Let's see. Was there anything that happened in New England? And again, that's the sad part of this, but that's what I think understandably gets raised. So the NFL is just punting because they can do it. That's what the NFL does. By the way, it is official. The Bears play the Vegas Raiders on the 28th of September. That's, by the way, a doubleheader CBS game. That'd be a Romo game, potentially,
it would be,
right?
Yeah. You know why there's no rules about owners in the coach's booth?
Why is that?
Because no owner ever goes into the coach's booth. It's never anything that anybody has ever talked about, right? Like, even Jerry Jones has his own booth.
That's
the
true.
most involved owner of all time. Most owners, I think, understand, no, you can't go into the coach's booth and throw on a headset like you're going to call the deep red zone, third and goal. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. That's why there's no policy against it. I bet there will be.
Yeah.
I bet in the owners' meeting this year, they probably make one. Because, again, I go back to, if I'm Pete Carroll, I'm like, no, Tom, we don't need you in there if you're not going to be here every day.
Right.
Like, if you want to talk about football or I don't know. It's just, it's an interesting way to be involved, I guess, if you're Tom Brady. I'm sure it'd be interesting to hear it because it's awesome.
I would just say to Brady, pick one. You obviously can do whatever you want to do. But I don't think it's fair that you're allowed to do both. And I think the NFL is lying to itself about it because he's Brady. They've decided to create an exception here. And you could say, well, the rules are the rules. And I'm saying, no, this is never, I don't think, quite come up like this before. There is no precedent for it. And the league is stuck because Brady is such a big name still and such a big star. It's like, well, no, it's to our advantage to have him as involved in our product as possible. That's true. But it's a bad conflicted look, no question about that. I mentioned we've odied almost from the beginning of the show Robert Redford, who has passed away at the age of 89 years old. It was revealed earlier today. I want to play to sort of reset the scene a little bit. This is about a 2-minute life in film montage. Now, this was meant for TV, for video, but there's enough audio that I think it does a good job of capturing some of the highlights of his career, and even, I think, an attempt to sort of put his approach into some measure of perspective as well.
The decisions you make now, Bud, can't be changed, but with years and years of hard work to redo it. And in those years, you become something different. Everybody does as time passes. You get married, you get into debt. But you're never going to be the same person you are right now. The promise and potential, it's very fun.
Glad to meet you, kid. You're a real horse's ass.
I'm celebrating.
What are you celebrating?
I guess you'd across the street.
I'll jump first.
No.
Then you jump first.
No, I said.
What's the matter with you?
I can't swim!
Why, are you crazy? The fall will probably kill you.
violation of secure communication procedures, Condor.
Listen, you son of a bitch, I'm telling you, I came back with lunch and it was raining and the whole house was murdered. Everybody is dead.
Suppose I were to offer you $1 million for one night with your wife.
Listen, I don't mean to be a sore loser, but when it's done, if I'm dead, kill him. Love to.
Robert Redford, very well put via. There are days when the X Machine can help you a little bit. Some nice montages, some nice effort to distill a very distinguished Hollywood career. I mentioned earlier the motion picture, The Horse Whisperer. I don't remember what the critics said about it when it came out. In fact, let me double check the year of The Horse Whisperer. Not to be confused, by the way, with The Electric Horseman. That was in 1979. More on that in a moment. Horse Whisperer came out in 1998. It's about 27 years old. And I found it a very effective film. And the basic... Are you familiar with that movie, The Horse Whisperer?
I don't think I am.
The basic premise is he's done this in a couple of films where he kind of plays an old-style, burnt-out cowboy kind of a guy. He did that in Electric Horseman in a very different fashion, but similar in a way, too. But in this case, a horrible accident involving, is her name Scarlett Johansson?
Yeah.
Is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
One of her early movies, I think, and she's in a terrible car accident in which, ends up getting hit by a car in which she is riding, and she is badly injured. In fact, I think loses a leg. And the horse, her favorite horse, is also badly injured. And authorities are saying, look, the horse needs to be put down. But the mom seems to almost think that the chance of my daughter recovering emotionally from this trauma is directly related to her relationship with this animal. So I'm going to try to keep this animal alive as I also try to rebuild my daughter's life. And in doing that, she comes upon the Horse Whisperer, played by Robert Redford. The idea is I'm going to go to this guy and I'm going to say, can you save this horse? Because this horse, I believe, belongs to my daughter and is connected with my daughter in a way that I need to try to put that back together. And the story kind of goes from there. He's skeptical at first. He doesn't seem all that interested at first. At first, he didn't even think it's even possible to do anything. But then he gets more involved. The mother, a great character, is tough. And she will not take no for an answer. And then from there, the story develops where they are all on his ranch. She basically finds where he lives and brings everybody to that location and almost forces the whole situation upon him. I think it's a very underrated film. And again, I don't remember. I think the critics were okay with it at the time, but it's one that hasn't tended over the years to get, I think, as much attention as it deserves. I think it was based on a book as well. Maybe it's based on a true story. I'm not exactly sure, but it's definitely worthy. I don't think it was represented in that highlight reel. There was a good Condor moment in there and several other films as well. And the music, of course, is from The Natural, which is where we started this whole program from as well. So we'll get more into, we got some more Redford sound we're going to play, including, as I said, there's a great anecdote he tells about the time he asked his good buddy Paul Newman to vouch for him as he was attempting to get to rent a place in New York. By the way, that's another thing about Redford. He was born in California, Southern California.
Santa Monica,
California. Yeah. Ultimately but he ended up starting his career in New York on Broadway, and then it kind of expanded from there. But he, in later years, basically said he found California rather vacuous, and New York was more, he felt like there was more real, there was more energy to it, and ultimately he ended up spending a lot of time in Utah and other places, but I thought that was kind of interesting about his native state of California as well. Now, if it was us, we would be bitter about him repudiating
that's true
his roots, but
yes.
Maybe California is more secure, and they're not going to be bothered by the fact that that's the way apparently Redford felt about California.
Because if one person leaves California, there's 10 more coming in, right? That's how there's 10 more Josh Broughtons moving there.
Basically, yes.
And staying forever.
Yeah, that's what they say in any case. Top 5?
We'll try to update you on every Vikings injury and signing that has taken place here in the last 24 to 48 hours. And as expected, the Twins dominate the Yankees.
This is Julian Edelman from Games with Names. Applebee's just cooked up the ultimate option play with their new Ultimate Trio deal. You can choose from 3 of their delicious appetizers and pair them up with 3 sauces for just $14.99. Craft your perfect trio from over 80,000 different combinations in this flavor-packed plate built for one, or to share if you're generous. You could stick with the classic pairings like boneless wings and buffalo sauce, or you could spice things up and try some unexpected combinations like dipping chicken wonton tacos in their honey Dijon mustard. It's time to head to your neighborhood Applebee's or order online today. That's eating good in the neighborhood. This is Julian Edelman from Games with Names. Football is back. That means it's tailgate time, and this season the only meat I'm going to grill is Dietz and Watson. I'm loving the Black Angus Dietz dogs. They're flavor-packed, and you can tell they are made with the highest quality ingredients. Sundays just got a whole lot better. Visit DietzandWatson.com/therightway to learn more about the Dietz difference.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Wasabi Technologies is purpose-built to free businesses from skyrocketing storage costs and unpredictable egress fees from those old and top-heavy legacy providers. You know, the big guys. Wasabi is the go-to provider for professional and collegiate sports teams around the world. From Wasabi's AI-enabled intelligent media storage, Wasabi Air, to the industry's only cloud storage service with triple protection against cyber criminals, Wasabi is driving innovation in data storage. All for up to 80% less than those other guys. Try them out for free at wasabi.com.